Earlier this morning, we spoke with key crossbench Senator Jacqui Lambie. She's been speaking on a number of issues, including her passion for a royal commission into veteran suicide, but she was also speaking about the Gatchen's report into the sports rorts saga. She said to the government that if that is not made public, they can't rely on her support for their key ensuring integrity bill. This is what she had to say a short time ago. So, Jacqui Lambie, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Now, this discussion about sports rorts has kicked on 136 emails from the Prime Minister's department to Bridget McKenzie's office talking about where this money should go. Do you think that there is a case to answer and this Phil Gatchen's report should be released?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's enough of the cover-up. We've already had a minister resign. She finally felt the guilt, which is good, and the Prime Minister needs to come out and be honest, and that report needs to be released. Why would you not release the report? You know, there's already a trust deficit out there in the country. People don't trust us as it is. They're not happy with the way things are going, with the goings-on that are going on up here. So we've got some real problems out there at the moment.
Now, you've been talking to the government about the Ensuring Integrity Bill. This is one of their key bills. And you've said this morning that now your support for this relies on them releasing the Phil Gatchen's report.
I think they need to come to their senses. And they need to find their conscience and do the right thing and release that damn report. It shouldn't come down to anything. It's just the right thing to do. What is wrong with them? Release the report. But honestly, I cannot believe that we're arguing they want to fix this over here, but they won't fix their own law and order over here. Come on, it's enough. So show some leadership, do the right thing and release the report. I can't even believe we're actually still having this conversation about this goddamn report. Honestly, it's worrying. Release the report, be open and honest with the people of the country.
What do you think the report will reveal that we don't already know?
I think what it'll be very narrow, and it won't actually. I believe it'll have very little substance to it, and what it'll show is it's just been a complete cover-up, and what the report that should have been done and focused and did the great big umbrella right over what's going on, will only have a small part attached to it. That's what I believe.
But just to be clear, you've been working with Christian Porter on ensuring integrity for quite some time to get your amendments through. And your support for that bill is relying on them releasing the Gatchen's report.
I've told the attorney it would help a great deal in the discussion of talks and to do the right thing. And the attorney, being a man from the law side, should know better and should have that, it's his integrity that's on the table here as well. And the Attorney-General, he needs to, he needs to man up and say, release the damn report. He should know better. For a bloke that comes from a law background, this is shocking behaviour by the government.
Now, when you were talking to Christian Porter about those amendments, they previously said that the things you wanted, like that one-year review, like the fact that you couldn't deregister a union over bad paperwork, was unworkable. Have you come to some kind of agreement on those kind of terms? Yeah, well, we haven't. We've never backed off our amendments.
It seems that the amendments are now workable because they obviously don't have the numbers without me. They're still refining that bill. We want to make sure that that's done properly. So my advisors are still working with his office. But once again, do the right thing and release that report. Look, it's probably still going to be a few weeks or if not a month away yet just to make sure that we get that right. But it would help to release that report, please, and show some goodwill.
When you say it would help, just to be crystal clear, so you're not going to support ensuring integrity unless they release the Phil Gatchen's report?
I'm not comfortable, I'll tell you that much. I'm not at all comfortable in putting integrity on somebody else when the government won't put integrity on themselves.
Absolutely. And then, so you're talking also about political donations. This has been quite a discussion. Right now, $13,800 is the limit. You want to have people declare donations for as little as $2,500.
Yeah, so $2,500 every 6 months. If you get any more over that, you'll have to declare them. There'll be real-time disclosure or within 7 days, so that'll have to be done. There'll be no more going to dinners where you pay $10,000 to sit on a crappy seat and eat soggy chips. Those days will be over. We don't suspect the charity organisations have been removed to a certain degree from this, although we don't expect the charity organisations out there to be giving political donations. I would hope not, but we have given them an exemption of the time frame of the 7 days. But we certainly need to have a look at these, at these donations. I think, when you've got the pokey lobbyists out there giving both sides of Parliament over $1 million, and we've got vulnerable people living out there that are feeding those machines and suffering from that, and we won't remove those poker machines out of pubs and clubs, then we've got a real problem here. When you've got a casino, that you're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, both sides of Parliament, both Labor and Liberal, and yet you won't do an inquiry on Crown over the allegations that have been made over the last 6 months. I've got to ask what is going on here. And then you've got the fossil fuel industry that's given well over nearly close to $1.5 million once again to both sides of politics, and there's no energy plan. What is going on here? What is going on? I just find it, here's a good idea. Why don't you do what I had to do and go out and earn it? I had to go and spend my own money, 50,000 I think it was, around about 50,000. I would be the only one in Parliament that can sit here this morning and say the $100,000 that I'm entitled to get from the AEC, I'm only going to get 50,000 on it because that's the only receipts I have. But what I can, and the other thing I can tell you is open and honestly, that my seat has been earned, it has not been bought. So not only are these guys over these political donations, not only are they taking money off lobbyists and everything else, and that is buying. If you think that $10,000 isn't buying you something to walk in here and see ministers, then people out there in the country, you're delusional, because I can tell you it is buying. So it is terribly, terribly worrying. And then they're spending your public money on these sports rorts things. They're having a great time out there. And Labor's done it in the past. Let's be honest, they're as bad as each other. So, you're talking about integrity once again. A bit of law and order in here, or up here, certainly would go a long way.
Now, you spend, like you said, you're quite in touch with your electorate. You spend a lot of time in Tasmania. Do you think sports rorts has really cut through? Are people bringing it up with you?
The sport, what they can see is a dishonest action. They're not actually talking about, it's not just about this. It's not so much focus, not calling it for sports rorts, but saying, oh, here we go. Here we go, they're up there spending our money, doing this. They can see all that, it's being played out in front of them. So, the trust deficit, what's left of it's just about gone. People have had enough out there, they're sick of seeing this, they're sick of this being done. And while this is taking up the headlines, the country's actually not getting much done out there, which is a real problem. Something over this is just such a distraction instead of getting on with leading the country.
We've had a Labor MP today raise the prospect again of raising Newstart. It doesn't seem likely with the budget where it is, but you've been quite a strong advocate for that in the past. Yeah, I would like to, at the very minimum, match the hours that you can work with the youth allowance, so you can get that 15 hours instead of 4. I think that would go a long way to getting people off welfare. Working 4 hours a week to being able to work 15, and we're giving you a hand up and supporting you while you're doing that, well, those 15 hours will lead into full-time work. That's what I believe. So if you can't afford and you don't want to give a rise at the moment, and honestly, I don't see that going on up here, I'll be honest with you. But what I can see that we could possibly do is lift those hours so they're exactly the same as youth allowance, and give them that bit more breathing space. I think that's probably an easier target for us to go after at the moment, rather than keep just belting out there and everyone keep putting up motions about having a rise, because it's just not happening, I'll be honest. And just finally, you've been quite a passionate advocate for veterans, especially those dealing with mental health issues. You're still calling for a Veterans Royal Commission. Why is that?
Yeah, so it needs to have a Royal Commission. It is up to the Royal Commission to put a commission or a babysitter on the Department of Veterans Affairs, not the Prime Minister. It needs a Royal Commission. I can tell you, I've never seen this. This has never been done in political history where we've had this commission over the top. It's always been a Royal Commission. The problem is with the Prime Minister, he knows what I do. Both his departments, both the Department of Defence and Veterans Affairs, when it comes to veteran suicide and how they're handling it, is in chaos. He knows that. So this will be the first time in history that we're actually going to put two government to two government departments under the eye and under the leadership of a Royal Commission, and he just doesn't want to do it. I mean, this is absolutely astounding that, for us, we feel like it's a slap in the face. You can go on and do a Royal Commission on pink bats. You know, you can go and do it on the CFMEU. You can go and do it on the John Dale Centre. You can do it on aged care. Are we not worthy of a Royal Commission? The other thing is with what he's proposing, it doesn't have an end date. It doesn't have recommendations at an end date. And still, if it's so bloody concerning with him, mate, we're now nearly 4 weeks since he mentioned he wanted to do this, and we've seen nothing else. I've got veterans out there taking their lives. They can't get into psychiatric care. They can't get into psych centres. They're waiting 10 or 12 weeks, that we're actually putting them in the public psychiatric care, in the public system, which is already inundated with its own problems in there. This is absolutely shocking. I have never seen in my 20 years in dealing with Department of Veterans Affairs it in so much chaos, and those suicides are building. They are screaming out for help, and it needs to have that Royal Commission.
So the argument from the government is that this system, it's an oversight that's ongoing, that they're constantly able to pull them out, kind of like an ombudsman. But what do you think would be added by having a Royal Commission as well?
Yeah. How are those ombudsmen going, by the way? They don't actually do a lot, do they? So if he's comparing it to that, I've already lost faith in your system here. That's just done me this morning. The Royal Commission, I can tell you now, within a couple of weeks of that Royal Commission getting started, it's going to do that anyway. My question is, why do you need a babysitter over the Department of Veterans Affairs? If they're not getting the job done, if that was my business and I was running it, the top echelon of that would be showing the bloody door and say, get out, because you are taking people's lives. You have blood on your hands, and they do. And I have to be honest with you, I'm looking very forward to estimates next Wednesday night when it comes to the Department of Veterans Affairs.
I am too. Jacqui Lambie, thank you for your time.
Thanks very much for having me on.